from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6 o'clock. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
I see we have a train going through in the background here.
Yes.
That's kind of funky.
Yes.
I'm liking it.
It's interesting, yeah.
It is interesting.
That's a big train, actually. That there was a distributed power unit, which means there's an engine in the middle of it.
Oh, okay.
Just went by, and it's slowing to a stop, so something's going to pass the other way soon.
Okay. Oh, gosh. This is really kind of fun.
Yeah.
I don't think I've had a moving train in my background studio in the past.
I put you on the single set because you don't have a guest yet.
Yes, I know. So we're very excited. I just texted my guest, which I hope we're all on board for this morning. We are looking well. I emailed last week. Of course, I got his wife Christina involved. That's how I knew everything was going to be on the up and up.
Right,
we were
gotcha.
good. So hopefully, our guest this morning, after a 2.5-year hiatus, will be Dr. Akinyele Lovelace. We are excited to see him again.
It's been a while.
I'm on some boards at the some committees for Bay State Noble Hospital. So I've seen Dr. Lovelace Zoom-wise. I don't think I've seen him in person in 2.5 years.
I have,
because
he's my doctor.
I know you have, Pete.
He's my doctor.
Yeah. So,
actually, I got to tell him I got to make an appointment because I haven't had the follow up from my hospitalization in Florida.
Down in Florida. So. Yeah. Are you back and adjusted now, Pete?
Yeah.
Back to,
I think everything's knocked out because my leg has been pretty stable.
Good.
So, but it's just you just run yourself down into the ground and then you wonder why you're in the hospital.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. Or you run yourself into the ground. You don't really wonder why. You just kind of realize that this is where we are. Okay.
Unfortunately, yes.
So nice weekend, Pete. Good weekend.
I worked at Mount Holyoke over the weekend, and
Okay.
then Sunday, my girlfriend, she met me up at Mount Holyoke, and we went to the Bridge of
Nice.
Flowers.
Oh, nice.
Did the walk through the Bridge of Flowers.
gosh,
I'd
I
never
haven't
done
been-
that.
Oh, you haven't?
No, well, maybe when I was younger.
Yeah.
But she saw it in the wintertime, and she's like, "We got to go back in the summer." So we went out there, and we did the glacial potholes. We saw one of our students here from WTA Aiden was out there taking pictures as well.
Okay.
And then we went to dinner in Greenfield, and then kind of came home. Just got to spend a
Nice.
couple. It's tough. We have to schedule a
I
couple of
know.
hours
I
together.
know.
It's
Well,
kind of like you and Gary.
I was going to say, I'm married, and I have to do that with my husband. Yeah, poor Gary's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, right. So we're kind of eking out time as we can because her daughter's going to start college. The youngest is starting college. The oldest is getting her act together and her life together. So that's been sucking up a lot of her time, and it's just finding time.
Yeah. Well, Pete,
I went out to Treehouse Brewing with my brother and his family because it
Okay.
was his oldest stepson's birthday.
Okay.
And they said, "Where do you want to go?" He goes, "Let's go to Treehouse." So we went to Treehouse on Treehouse Brewing.
Where is that?
It's out in Charlton.
Oh, okay.
And it is a multi-million. They started in a barn, these two guys from Munson.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have one of the best beers in the world and rated as the best beer in the world.
Wow.
And they have this multi-million-dollar brewing. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
$100 million brewing operation in
Wow.
Charlton. And people come.
That's so cool.
They have a place in Deerfield now. They have a place on the Cape. They have a place on the South Shore. I mean, it's just a huge operation now.
And these are local
was a
Massachusetts
plumber.
guys?
One guy was a plumber in Munson.
Oh, I love it.
They're both from Munson.
Great story. And they survived the pandemic.
Yeah, they started out. They
So
literally started out
business
in a
did.
barn,
Mm-hmm.
one of their barns or something, and then it just grew and grew and grew and grew. So
Very cool.
yeah,
Very cool.
yep.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with a few, on this date and one birthday, so that if and when Dr. Lovelace, let me see if I've heard back from him yet. Nope, not yet.
Text Christina, wake her up, make sure she knows.
I don't know if I have her on my cell phone. All right. Well, let's do on this date. So today's August 17th. And on this date in 1939, the musical, I see a car pulling in, I bet that's him. The musical film The Wizard of Oz, starring Judy Garland, Ray Bolger, Burt Lair, and Jack Haley, opened at Loew's Capitol Theater in New York City. What is the most viewed movie of all time? Well, look no further than the groundbreaking 1939 film The Wizard of Oz, one of cinema's most famous efforts. Legendary for its famous scenes, memorable characters, oft-repeated quotes, and for its use of Technicolor, which, among other things, brought to life the famous red slippers, the ruby slippers worn by Judy Garland in the film. The movie was, I thought this was fascinating, the movie was actually a commercial bomb when it first came out, making less than $1 million over its budget. Nevertheless, watching The Wizard of Oz became an American tradition after it was first broadcast on television in 1956. The year 1939 was a good one for the movie's director, Victor Fleming, who won the Academy Award for Best Picture for Gone with the Wind, another iconic movie released the same year. And a lot of movie.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, a lot of people who are really love movies know that was it. 1939. It was both The Wizard of Oz as well as Gone with the Wind. Same year, same director. The film The Wizard of Oz is an adaptation of the children's novel The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, released in 1900. So there it is on this date. Wizard of Oz opened in New York City.
Crazy.
All right, and I want to do one birthday before we get to our first break. Oh yeah, that is Dr. Lovelace.
Yeah, that's him.
Just sauntering in. I love it. All right, today is the birthday of Margaret Hamilton, and she was unbelievable with what she did. She was a computer scientist. She is a computer scientist. She's still living. Born on this date in 1936 in Paoli, Indiana. She's 86 years old. Margaret Hamilton is an American computer scientist, systems engineer, and business owner. She was director of the software engineering division of the MIT Instrumentation Laboratory, which developed onboard flight software for NASA's Apollo program. She later founded two software companies, Higher Order Software in 1976 and Hamilton Technologies in 1986, both in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Hamilton has published more than 130 papers, proceedings, and reports about 60 projects and 6 major programs. She is one of the people credited with coining the term software engineering, and how often do we use that in this day and age? When Hamilton started using the term software engineering during the early Apollo missions, software development was not taken seriously compared to other engineering, nor was it regarded as a science. Margaret Hamilton was concerned with legitimizing software development as an engineering discipline. Over time, the term software engineering gained the same respect as any other technical discipline. In 2016, Margaret Hamilton received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Barack Obama for her work leading to the development of onboard flight software for NASA's Apollo moon missions. So happy 86th birthday to Margaret Hamilton. And if you Google her, if you look her up, you will just find a laundry list of what this woman has done. And she started doing it at a very young age. So very smart, brilliant person, and just a really, really great role model for all those women, especially, for science and technology. So really pretty cool, really pretty cool. Okay, let's do one more birthday. It is the birthday of the late Mark Felt, FBI official born on this date in 1913 in Twin Falls, Idaho. Passed away December 18th, 2008 at the age of 95. Mark Felt attended the George Washington Law School and earned his law degree in 1940. In 1941, Felt began training to become an FBI agent. Felt's performance caught the attention of then-Director J. Edgar Hoover. After serving as a top agent in places such as Seattle, New Orleans, Los Angeles, and Salt Lake City, Felt returned to Washington in 1962, where he helped oversee training at the FBI Academy. In 1971, Herbert Hoover promoted Mark Felt to Deputy Associate Director, the third highest position in the FBI. 1 year later, Felt was assigned to the post of Associate Director, becoming second in command at the Bureau. On June 17, 1972, 5 men were arrested for breaking into Democratic National Committee headquarters. The incident became a national scandal nicknamed Watergate, after the name of the office complex in which the events took place. As second in command, Mark Felt was asked to head the Bureau's investigation into the break-in to determine the extent, if any, of White House involvement. On June 19, 1972, 2 days later, Washington Post journalists Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein received information from a high-level government official who was given the moniker Deep Throat. During the phone call, Deep Throat told the journalists that former CIA agent and Nixon staff member Howard Hunt was definitely involved in the Watergate scandal. The hot tip gave journalists enough leverage to call for a widespread investigation of the White House's activities, which significantly sped up what would have otherwise become a slow and lengthy trial. The televised trials in 1973 revealed a string of criminal acts involving campaign fraud, political espionage, breaking and entering, and illegal wiretapping that all led back to President Nixon and his staff. The evidence eventually led to Nixon's resignation. Yet even after the trial, the identity of the man known as Deep Throat remained a mystery. Felt retired from the FBI in 1973. Decades later, after suffering a stroke, his daughter persuaded him to go public. So this was, let's see, how many years later? Yeah, like 2005. On May 31st, 2005, he broke his silence in an issue of Vanity Fair. The article revealed Felt's identity as Deep Throat, and Woodward and Bernstein later confirmed this to be the fact. So, happy birthday to the late Mark Felt, who lived to the ripe old age of 95. So, pretty impressive. All right, it is 6:12. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My guest this morning, first hour, is Dr. Akinyele Lovelace. He is waiting in the wings. We are going to bring him in with his theme song, which we have not played because I refuse to play this for any other guest. But we are going to bring him in with his theme song, which is by the Doobie Brothers, and it's called The Doctor. We'll be back with Dr. Lovelace.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:17. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. I know Pete's doing all kinds of wild and crazy things here with, we got all kinds of backgrounds coming in and zooming in and out. He's having fun. So my guest this morning.
I'll put you in your happy place.
There you go.
Up in Maine.
We're up in Bar Harbor right now. That's my background. It's my happy place. I love it. My guest this morning is Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, who is back after a 2.5-year hiatus. I had to go back and look at, it was February of 2020. That was the last time we were together. And then March of 2020, all hell broke loose and that was it. So we have a lot of catching up to do. So we were talking off air about his lovely daughters who I can't believe their ages. I cannot believe their height. They're both over 5 feet. They were like little,
Not anymore. Not anymore. This is 2 years can change a lot, right?
Yes, 2 years can change a lot. And now I'm thinking, so we're the oldest is heading into sixth grade.
Sixth grade, yeah.
So are you starting to have all the fun of having like a female middle school?
Yeah, that's a thing, right? That's happening.
It is a thing.
That's
and it goes on for a long time.
It feels like, and
to tell you.
it's you can definitely see the challenges ahead.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what I appreciate is having had, because for us during this process or during the pandemic, we actually took in another child.
You
right?
did.
We
That's
did take
right.
in another child
Yes.
due to a lot of situations due to
Yeah.
COVID, and he was already at the time he was going to go into the 6th and 7th grade, and so. Obviously, there's a difference between, a boy preteen and a girl preteen. Mm-hmm. But I think as parents, that really shed some light on us as to how we were going to parent that stage in our lives. Yeah. And so it became a great process for us to prepare as to how we're going to approach, someone who's becoming their own person. Yeah. And how, as adults, we were going to teach this soon-to-be adults how life works or how we see it, and how we kind of show our children that we are people and we are human and we make mistakes, and we own them, right? And then we also kind of will discuss like what are the issues, and so I feel like at this stage, I'm very blessed to have 2 daughters who are really good people, and so obviously we're going to go through all the teenage and teen things, but what's so nice is that I feel like because I have a really good teammate and a wife.
Yes, you do.
We were able to give both sides of the coin when life gets hard, and so I'm very happy and fortunate enough that I have that, and that my daughters now will have the opportunity to talk to 2 different minds, right? So I think that's a big thing, and so our biggest challenge right now is really technology, right? You're gonna have to let this person have access to more of the world in a way in which we didn't have at that stage in our lives, and that is worrisome, right? I have the fortune of being able to control the internet in my house. But once you walk out of my house,
that's right.
So that is the thing. But I feel like we've been preparing and gearing them up for the challenges ahead, and so we're gonna see we're gonna see what happens,
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I think, a couple of things on technology. I think, one of the scary things for a lot of parents, myself included, and Gary, was that, your children's knowledge sometimes outpaces yours. They're just so engulfed in this that, they get ahead of us with what's out there and how to use it and so forth. And you think you're on top of it, and all of a sudden it's like, well wait a minute, I didn't know anything about that. When did that start? And I think that's a little scary. I think the other thing, having gone through what you're going through, starting at the sort of ripe old age of about 13 or 14. My daughter is now 21, or I mean, not 21, 31. And, so now I feel like I'm sort of I've come through the tunnel. There is the light there, but it took a really long time to get there. But I think in having conversations with her now as an adult, the message that I'm getting is that whatever she did, whenever she got sort of out of control, whenever we as parents thought, how did we get here? What did we do wrong? I think her message back to us was that we walked the walk. We didn't just talk the talk. She knew that we would always be there. She knew right from wrong, by just by living with us. And eventually she had to weave her way back to where she should be, and kind of do it in her own time and in her own way. But I think, but she pretty much said that, and she will tell anybody now. I put my parents through hell. I mean, not wanting to do that, not consciously. There are lots of outside environmental forces that young people today have to deal with, and some do better than others.
Yeah, and what's so interesting about that is I see that in adults all the time.
Sure.
Right? Like I see that in the office.
Sure.
I see the struggles that we all have when it comes to certain types of just discipline. Right.
Yeah.
I think that is a challenge, and there are a lot of outside forces that act against us. As I drive through this beautiful town, there is a Chipotle being put up. There is, there is a Five Guys that's becoming a drive-through walk-up. There are a lot of outside forces that are affecting our health that sometimes we're not even really conscious of, but we're being influenced by.
Yes.
And not to knock any of those restaurants. I no disrespect, please, but I do that does say something.
Yes.
I'm at least happy that we actually have a sidewalk to walk down, but those type of variables that are out there are affecting us, and how we kind of navigate life is so important. I have sometimes 60, 50-year-old people who still haven't gotten it right yet in life, and are still kind of even battling the conversations that they had with their parents, because there was not an acceptance about who they were, or their parents weren't honest with them about who they were. And so that kind of carries on into adulthood, and that's tough to see that, And so this process has made me have a better understanding about empathy with people, and being just more patient. I think when you're younger, right, and you're even as a younger physician, you kind of, I don't want to say arrogance, but you have this kind of thought or idea about how things should be. And until you've kind of lived through it a little bit, and scratched your knees up and fallen and had to get back up, you don't necessarily get it as well as you should, right? And so, these last couple of years have made me also appreciate my parents even more, and to call them more, and to say thank you more, and to really just reach out and be very grateful that I had parents that weren't perfect, but they were consistent, and they were genuinely who they were, their genuine selves. And I think that is the one thing that I think is so important sometimes in this process, right? Because we're all growing, right? Like we're never, you're not. It's so interesting. You're not the same person, right? Like you're not the same person that you were 2 years ago, just because you probably are eating different things, right? Or something has changed within you. And so you also are evolving. And I think us just growing in that process is just a wonderful thing if we can accept it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny that you were talking about looking at some of the, fast food restaurants and things that are going up. What's really interesting to me is that yesterday morning I was driving to work having that exact same thought going through my head. It's like, because I drive down Route 20 every day from West Springfield, and I'm coming down there and I'm going, really? And just as you said, I mean, I'm not knocking anything, but, it's kind of like, okay, where are, the Whole Foods? Where are, I feel like you got to get out of, sometimes you have to get out of the area to get some of those, to kind of do that healthier.
Yeah, you do
lifestyle.
You do. But I've also, though, what I've come to appreciate too is, as we were talking earlier about being in Boston, is that we had the good fortune of actually walking into a Whole Foods. We were kind of by MGH and Mass General Hospital.
Yep.
And we went to the Whole Foods and we kind of walked around, and then we were like, oh, wait a minute. A lot of the stuff we see in Whole Foods is at Big Y.
You can get it, yes.
And
way more so now than 20 years ago. I mean, I remember I used to, when Grace was a baby, so now she's 31, so we're going 30 years ago. Every 3 weeks, I would drive up to, at that time it was Bread and Circus. I would drive up to Hadley. It was like a big field trip to kind of get my healthy food. And what I've noticed over the last 30 years is, item by item, it's like, well, I can get this at Stop and Shop, and I can get this at Big Y, and so much more that we can. And I have Jen DeFune is a local dietitian who's on the show once a month. And, we talk about that when Jen talks about eating this way or eating that way or whatever. And I'll say to her, okay, where can the average person get this? Do we have to travel to another state? And in a lot of cases, no, you don't. You just have to know where to find it in your local supermarket. And she'll tell you that, this will be in the produce, this will be in the dairy aisle, this one you can get over here. But if you have your eyes open, you can.
Yeah, and it's so very interesting when you have the discussions about what is being built in your community. I've lived in a lot of different cities, New Orleans, Philadelphia, and there was always a pushback if McDonald's came to your area. Because typically what that meant is that the likelihood of you also having a grocery store probably went down, right?
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But what's interesting about what we've got going on in Westfield is even though I see a Chipotle, there's an Aldi coming.
Yes, there is.
Right.
Yep.
So that I thought that was a very interesting thing to see also. So I'm very happy about kind of what our options are here. And for someone who makes a living pretty much on helping people make better choices, right? It may not be the best, but it's going to be better. It's good to see that at least we have some options that are coming along the way, in which I know for a fact it's hard when you are working, 7 to 5, or you're working second shift, and you don't have time to sit down and make your meal in a certain way or measure your food, but you want at least healthier options. And so I love the fact that we're starting to we're not starting, but we have a lot of those things out there if we're looking, right? And I think that's the key thing, because the other thing that I noticed throughout this journey, this medical journey, was that stress, right? The stress that we've interpreted, or the stress that we perceive or take on, it sometimes allows us to defer to our most common, whatever our common thing is when it comes to, well, I had a patient last night. He said, well, I had Special K and toast. So, well, was that the best decision? Nah, it wasn't the best decision, but I was stressed. And that's my point, right? So I think for us to have just a better perception about all the different food options that are out there will make a huge difference in as to how we grow as a community, right? Because I think that access to healthier foods or healthier options is going to really make a huge impact on our future as a community, right? And I think that's a key thing to keep in mind going forward.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a break in just a minute, but you know what? A nice segue into that is, just as a reminder to folks, which I do every week, we have the Farmers Market here in Westfield over at the Church of the Atonement, and I love it because it's the day after my show, so I can always remind people, Farmers Market tomorrow at the on the grounds of the Church of the Atonement from noon to 5 every Thursday. And I think the weather's going to be okay for you. So, this is the season. I mean, we are getting donations to the Senior Center corner of tomatoes and cucumbers and zucchini. And, I just feel like Gary and I are just like living on salads and cut up vegetables. And
I need to get some corn.
Oh, God.
Before it goes out.
There's a great place that we found literally like 5 minutes from our house, Gooseberry Farms in West Springfield, that they have great corn. We kind of just discovered them. We had been actually getting it in Westfield at a farm stand for years, and then they went out of business. And so I said to Gary, we're going to get our corn. So so they're out there. I don't know if there's corn at the farmers market. I haven't seen that yet, but we'll go check it out tomorrow. All right, let's take a break. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My guest again this morning is Dr. Akinyele Lovelace. In honor of this, on this date, Dr. Lovelace, The Wizard of Oz opened at Lowe's Capitol Theater in New York City. So we have to listen to Judy Garland singing Over the Rainbow. That's where we all want to be, over the rainbow.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I? Happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow. Why, oh, why can't I?
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:36. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete, who's in the background over there.
Morning.
Thank you. And my guest this morning is Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, primary care physician with Family Medicine Associates. That would be that pink Miami-looking building over on Route 20.
It still is pink and green.
I know, it
Yes.
still is. But that's a landmark.
It's a staple now.
It is.
It's
You
truly a
can't-
staple.
I mean, if they decide to paint it, they better not change the color because
I don't know what they're going to do with that one.
You
Yeah.
just gotta leave it alone.
Yes, the older gentleman that thought of that idea is still in control, and I'm going to leave that option up to them.
You know what? And I just love it.
Yeah.
So, so Dr. Lovelace and I were talking off air about the fact that I would say over 2 years, when Joe Rouse, Director of Public Health, is on my show, which is always the last. Or the fourth Wednesday of the month, not the last, but the fourth Wednesday of the month. For 2 years, all we did was give COVID updates, and we talked about that and what's happening and what are the mandates and what are the rules and what should we do. And then, we really kind of got away from that for a while. We started talking about other public health issues and, summer safety, and we've talked about ticks, we talked about water, all kind of radon. But I feel like now, Dr. Lovelace, with the kids are they're going to be back in school in a couple of weeks. I didn't realize Westfield is starting before Labor Day.
Yeah.
So they'll be going back in 2 weeks.
Back to school shopping has already happened for us in the household.
Yeah, there it is. And of course, with tax-free weekend last
that
weekend,
was
a
a big deal.
lot of people doing their back to
deal.
school stuff. So, it's sort of like, okay, we're journeying out of summer mode and we're getting into that, back to work here.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, a lot of people, and I'm hearing a ton of stories. I was listening to National Public Radio on my way in, and, all kinds of stories on back to school and COVID, back to college, and how is it going to be different than the last 2 years? Why is it going to be different from the last 2 years? And, a lot of people have a lot of questions. We are also heading into flu season here in New England, and we are gearing up for that. I've been working with the health department this past week. I just met with Deb Malvena, the public health nurse, to, settle on the dates that we're going to be doing flu vaccines at the senior center. So lots of questions from folks around COVID protocols, heading into flu season, vaccines, booster shots. When should I get what? Is there a new COVID booster coming out? So I feel like we need to, kind of regroup. So let's go there.
Yeah. So I think from a back to school perspective, right? So when we're talking, so the recommendations certainly are if you've had that 3-shot mRNA series, you're fine. Like let's start there, right? So let's put Johnson & Johnson away for a little bit and let's just talk about Pfizer and Moderna, right? If you had 2 shots, if you had 3, that's a good start and you're doing a good job.
Okay.
If you've kind of been on the fence about getting your 4th, right? Like, doctor, and I've had patients come and ask, they're like, hey, Dr. Lovelace, I haven't really been doing much. I've been kind of out. Maybe I've been playing golf. I really haven't been around a whole bunch of people. Do I need to get it right now? It's kind of the question. And my response is always going to be, hey, listen, if it's been more than 6 months, right, since your last booster, right, then it's definitely something to consider. But then I always kind of leave it up with them to say, you know what, though, I'm not going to really come down on you if you want to wait until the fall, right? Because what happens in the fall? Well, everyone starts to kind of get huddled back together, and here we are again in the same position. However, things have changed, right?
Okay.
For someone that has kind of been both in the, I still frequently round in the hospital.
Yep.
We haven't seen a lot of COVID cases in the hospital. Right. And I think that's a really good sign for everyone. And so what has changed is that the majority of the community has either been vaccinated or has had COVID. And so what that means is that we have the intensity in which the virus has really affected people, to hospitalize them in a way, has gone down tremendously. And so I don't anticipate that we're going to go backwards in regards to a lot of the mandates that we had early on. I anticipate that we're going to really, I think we've got a lot of better ideas as to how long someone needs to remain quarantined, and we also have antiviral treatments now, right? So we have the treatment for this, especially if you've been diagnosed with the home test, treatment within 24 to really 48 hours, 72, if you want to push it, there's a treatment option now, right? And so for the adults, I'm not quite sure about the children, so forgive me if I don't know that.
Okay.
But the option for treatment is so much more readily available now that even if you feel symptomatic and you take the medication, you're going to be okay, right? I think in regards to answering the question about flu shots and getting the COVID booster or getting the COVID vaccine, when we were children, we gave it to children. When we were children, we got multiple shots.
Yeah.
And if you were to be hospitalized and you hadn't had your pneumonia shot or your flu shot, you got both, right? So in my mind, with any other shot, there's no reason to wait. Don't even, some people want to wait. They don't want to get 2 shots. And I understand for a lot of people, needles are just not their thing, right? We learned a lot about people don't like needles, right? And so I would always encourage to just get it over with, right? If it's available to you, if it's at the pharmacy, and you haven't had your flu shot yet, and you haven't had your COVID booster yet, go ahead and get it. What are you waiting on? You're going to wait a couple weeks or a couple months? It makes no difference as far as I'm concerned. You get the shot and you get on with your life. And that's kind of been my approach with patients that come in with those concerns and questions. I think as we get closer and closer to the school year, the CDC has already made recommendations for 6 and over now. And so that's great. So if you're someone that wants to give your child the vaccine, go for it, and if the booster is available, obviously you want to definitely get the booster. Now, here's the other thing that we've kind of toyed with or had the discussion with is, well, what if I got diagnosed with COVID? What if I was positive for COVID this past week?
Yeah.
Do I get the booster? I was scheduled to get the booster this week. And no, you don't technically need to get the booster anymore because you've survived it, right? We're surviving it. And so really you're good for another 90 days, right? So you having had it is kind of your booster, right?
Okay.
So you can kind of push it back a little bit or push it forward, should I say. So I think it's so, it's so interesting that we're now in this position where we can have this conversation about COVID, because I remember the last time I was here, there was a lot of uncertainty, but I think now we have a lot more certainty. I think as a community, we are a lot more safer, and there's just a better approach to how we're going to treat this and what we need to do in regards to quarantining, right? And I think those are some really good things. And so I think for us going back to school, we anticipate that there might be a slight bump up, but I don't think it's going to be anything like we've seen in the past when we're talking about COVID. I think it's going to be our routine cough and cold stuff. And I think, honestly, if you want to wear a mask because you don't want to catch the flu, I kind of respect that, right? I respect the fact that, and I don't think we should shame anybody for wanting to wear a mask. And I also think we shouldn't just make the assumption that they're wearing a mask meaning that they didn't get the vaccine either, right? I just think
no,
that
absolutely not. There are lots of reasons.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons, and I think for a lot of older adults who have chronic conditions, who want to just look out for themselves and be safe, I think that's a very reasonable thing. And so, do I foresee mask wearing disappearing? Not really, not in that way. I think for some people, it's been a very smart thing. I mean, when you think about the flu itself, right? So influenza A and influenza B, at the height of certain areas of the pandemic, we didn't see any flu cases. Right. So there's something to be said about washing your hands and covering your mouth when you cough, and
staying home when you're sick.
Stay home when you're sick. So for me, it's always been a common sense kind of approach to this. Once we kind of figured out what was actually going on. And I would just continue to encourage those things. I don't think those are bad things at all.
Yeah. It's interesting. I am a mask wearer when I'm, kind of out in public, and, when I go to the groceries, pretty much when I walk into any store, I have mine usually, I just took it off because I had it on, but, usually around my neck. I tend to shop at off times, which I did during the pandemic, but I do it anyway because of my work schedule. It's so wackadoo. And so the funny thing is because I shop at off times, especially do my grocery shopping, most of the other people that are in the store with me are kind of like-minded. So I see a lot of masks, but I think it's again because people are sort of like, I'll just go there when there aren't like big crowds or anything. And I just, I work with seniors, so I'm very sensitive to not just my own protection, but also their protection. So, I've been, vaccinated, boosted, the whole 9 yards, take good care of myself and all that. So, but I've never had anybody, like, you don't need that mask, or what's the matter? Didn't you get vaccinated? I haven't had anybody, but again, I'm kind of with like-minded people, so we're all sort of in there at the same time.
Yeah, you just never know.
You don't know what someone's circumstances
you never
are.
say-
I've also been around people who are pretty compromised.
Yeah.
Because of, cancer treatments and things like that. I mean, I'm respectful of that. So, but I think you're right. I think, the interesting thing is that in not, knock on wood, getting COVID at all yet so far. But I also haven't gotten really anything. You know what I mean? I mean, the worst thing that I've had health-wise was just my reactions to, the vaccination, which were, short-lived. Intense, but short-lived.
I still remember my first vaccine. My first vaccine was December 24th. I got it Christmas Eve, and me and Santa were struggling. We were struggling.
I totally get it. So that was the first. So I was okay with the first one, but the second one, and the staff, we did it all together because we partnered with the housing authority. So we did 150 seniors. And so the staff, and we all said we need to get ours. It was like a 3-day thing, but we said we got to get ours on Friday. So Saturday afternoon, the texts start going among all the staff members. How you doing? I'm like, oh man, I'm down for the count. I'm still in bed. It's 5 o'clock. I can't get my head off the pillow. And the funny thing was that, so we're all comparing notes. But of course, by Sunday, everybody was feeling a little better. By Monday. But the one person who was out of the loop with all those texts, because we didn't even think about it, was our youngest employee, Alex, who's our building maintenance craftsman. He's like, at the time he was like 31, 32, something like that. So we all come in Monday, we're telling our war stories about, I had a headache, I couldn't wake up, blah, blah, blah. Well, poor Alex. I said, Alex, how'd you do? Thinking, you're young, I'm sure you sailed through this. He was the worst off from any of us. I mean, he had, you name it, and he had every side effect and symptom for like that 36-hour period. I felt awful.
See, Tina, I think you were mad at me because I had nothing through any of my shots.
You didn't have anything. Neither did Gary.
Nothing.
Gary had absolutely not one. Grace Grace did okay too.
That's why Joe Rouse thought Kenny brought it back to us, and I was an early adopter.
Yeah,
before the Chinese even admitted to that it was there.
Yeah.
But the other interesting part is that we're also seeing that now with the side effects with the antivirals, right? Some people will take the antivirals, and they'll be this kind of thing. Well, I got COVID. I should probably take the antivirals, and I'm like, well, you can, but there's some side effects to that too, right? Like you can feel miserable, headaches, nausea. Some people had some vomiting and some diarrhea because it's a lot of Paxlovid. You got to take a lot of tablets for those couple of days. Like sometimes it's 3 to 4 tablets a day for like 7 days. It's a lot, and so. I've had some people like, man, I couldn't finish this. Like I'd rather, I'm fine. Like I'm doing okay. I just can't tolerate it because of the side effects. And so there's always that trade-off, with these things. But I think what's the good that came out of all of this is we just have a better understanding about viral diseases in general, right? And how things actually spread. And I think we're a little bit more knowledgeable collectively as a community.
I totally agree with that. I think we've learned a lot as a community, and a lot of information being passed, and and as you said, I think now the common sense things of flu season is coming. Wash your hands, stay home if you don't feel well, wear a mask if you feel like, you need to be out and about and you're more comfortable with that. Those are all things that, of course, we've been preaching for years and everybody's completely ignored. But I think people are more hypersensitive now.
They are.
So I'm hoping.
They are. And what I'm also hoping is that there is also a better... I'm hoping that because we've gotten this under better control, I want to believe that people are also willing to even come back and work in the healthcare community once again. I have to put that out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it scared a lot of people off, or it caused a lot of fatigue for a lot of people who are still there. And so there's such a shortage now. There's a shortage across every industry, but for us specifically in healthcare, I can definitely identify and understand I think also we didn't really pay attention enough. We didn't really care enough about those single parents that were working, those parents who probably lived in a multi-generational home, who had children that they had to care for, and what happens when that parent gets ill or sick, and that child can't go to school, or school's out, or school's like, what do we do? Like, how do we care for those people? How do we make sure that they still have a job? And I think that the healthcare itself has to be a lot more flexible in its approach as to how it's going to care for its employees, because we lost a lot of people, sometimes not necessarily because they got COVID, but because of just the effects that COVID caused on families in general. And so I'm being very hopeful and wishful that because we've gotten things under better control, that some of those people that might have had interest in healthcare might want to consider it, or those who might have left, and were like, listen, I don't want to be involved. Like, this is just too much. I hope that maybe they would reconsider and maybe want to kind of venture back, because we are turning the corner, and I think things are improving. So that's my small pitch for the healthcare
You know what?
industry.
That's okay. And thank you for doing that, because you are absolutely right, Dr. Lovelace. I mean, we had people, and people that just got burned out. I mean, it's just, and man, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. We lost a lot of Council on Aging directors for the same reason. We had a lot of people that took early retirement.
Yeah.
It was like, well, I was planning to retire in 2 years, but I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. And I feel like we've had a group of the Western Mass Council on Aging directors have been meeting virtually for 2.5 years, every other week, every other Friday. And I really feel like that group we have been a lifeline for each other, because, I get it. It's the same, you're watching. I mean, I can remember when when COVID first broke, I lost like 3 volunteers in 10 days.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you just felt like it was this massive thing. And if people don't think that takes a toll, it does take a toll. Because you're trying to do just your regular job. We're trying to get meals to people. We're trying to get, do like the technical things that we have to do every day. But there's that emotional toll. There's no way you can just like go home and forget about this.
No, you don't.
There was a lot of fear.
There was a lot that was
Plus, you're
there.
dealing, as you said too. You're dealing with that's your work life. You're dealing with all your personal family stuff as well.
Yeah.
And it's been a whole lot. But I agree with you. I think that there are people that are just, I think, born to be nurturers and really born for that. And hopefully we'll get people coming into the healthcare field, but also, maybe people who needed that little respite for a couple of years to say, and they had to step away. And hopefully maybe some of those people will come back, maybe in a different capacity within the healthcare.
Yeah, and what has happened and what has changed is that the healthcare industry is starting to find other ways to maintain contact with people. And so not telehealth per se, but there are just other aspects as to this kind of forced the healthcare industry to kind of redefine how we deliver care to people, and even almost in a more personalized way. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to sit in an office per se, but it does mean that you might have to just be able to communicate with people, because I think that's the other issue here, is really communicating what's out there, or what are the issues, or what you're kind of up against. And so I'm hoping that those people who might have that nurturing ability, or might be a little bit more tech savvy, right? Because a lot of things that are evolving in primary care have a lot to do with technology.
They do.
And so making sure that is something that the average person can comprehend and understand is going to be key. And so once again, I'm just trying to encourage and let everyone know that there's a lot of opportunities for employment.
Yes, absolutely.
in the healthcare industry, and that the hardest parts, I believe, have passed. And so if we can kind of just encourage people to want to kind of make that decision to kind of help volunteer their time again, or be involved in any capacity when it comes to the health of our community, I encourage that.
And you know what? I'm going to take that one step further, Dr. Lovelace, and also let people know, remind some people, but also let people know. I think a lot of people think, oh, well, I don't want to be a nurse, or I can't be, or I don't want to be a doctor. There are so many different positions within the healthcare field. I mean, you name it, it's across the board. And when you say healthcare, we're talking about hospitals, we're talking about, medical practices and offices and, home health. I mean, there's just like, it's a ton of stuff.
We are struggling with finding medical assistants. We are struggling to find patient care techs, or what are called PCTs. We are even struggling to find people who are in the food service industry, right?
Right.
We are having a hard time finding engineers that can help run these massive buildings, right? We are, the average age of a lot of those people are now into the 40s and 50s and sometimes into the 60s, and there's no backup.
There's nobody coming in.
There's nobody coming in at this time, and for a variety of different reasons. And so, yes, thank you for pointing that out. It's not that, obviously, yes, I would love there to be more doctors and more nurses, but golly, man, we need people who really, some people right out of high school could really come in and make a decent living if they considered being involved in healthcare in that way. That could really further your career. And so I would just encourage those who, if you've got someone in their 20s who they're not sure about what direction they want to go into, there's always a job at the hospital.
I totally agree. I've thought about, people have said to me, because I'm, now, see, I'm older than I was 2 years ago. So now I'm mid-60s. Listen, I'm on Medicare now. I mean, it's like,
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So that was a big step. But, and I thought about, okay, so, people have said, so teen, retirement? And I'm like, well, I'm not there yet. But part of it is because I have to think about, well, what would I do? But what I think would be a great, cool thing? Like, I want to talk to Ron Bryan about this. Like, I could go into Bay State Noble Hospital as a volunteer and just I can wheel people. you need to go from here to here. I can do that.
That's a need.
So, you know what? I mean, those are the kinds of things where people think, well, I need to be a nurse or I need to be a doctor. I need to have all this, technology and skill and everything. It's like, there's some other basic things that need to be done. No. And I'm thinking, I could do that, chit chat with them on the way and calm them down and so forth. I can use a little of my social work skills there. But, there are just a lot of those kinds of positions that are out there. So I think if people think, when you're looking for a position, think healthcare, think hospital, think, nursing home, think of some of those, jobs that are out there.
Yeah, because they're there.
They are there and well needed. So, all right. So we're going to wrap up. So kind of regroup. So we're talking in terms of COVID protocols, basic hand washing. And I think, too, being, one of the things that Joe Rouse and I talked about, when you are in those larger gatherings, as Joe said, when you're in the larger gatherings, it's just the greater chance that if someone's sick, more people are going to get sick when you leave that gathering. You have to kind of be aware of that.
Yes, you do.
But, we now have home tests.
Home tests are readily available. So you can do your home test.
Yeah.
And the treatment they've even got online access now. Believe it or not, there are a lot of, if you're tech savvy, you can jump online now and literally enter it in with some type of practitioner, and they actually will write you a prescription for it. That home test, do it, right? Yeah. Like if you're concerned at all and if you haven't access to a provider, give them a call. And that provider should really be able to just readily prescribe you the antiviral treatment right there if necessary. And then you go forward. So what I would say is that if you've been in these large groups and you're concerned at all, make sure you get that home test and check yourself, and check it again after 24 or 48 hours and see where you stand. And if it's positive, you've got treatment, and do the treatment, and then use discretion. I mean, don't go outside and have a party, but, give it 5 days, relax, and then regroup. You don't need to retest yourself. As long as you're not having a fever, you're fine. You've completed the treatment. I think outside of that, when we're talking about boosters, if you haven't had your first booster, get your first booster, right? But if you're still on the fence about the second booster, and it's been past 6 months, go ahead and get it. If you kind of want to wait because flu season and fall is coming around, I respect that. Like I can't really be mad at you about wanting to take that decision. I would say that, you definitely want to get that second booster. And if the flu shot is around, go ahead and get the flu shot. A lot of people also asking me, do you know if the COVID vaccine is going to be in the flu shot? I don't know that just yet. Like, I don't know if it's going to be part of it.
About that.
So, but there's always some level of coronavirus that's in the flu shot, right? Okay. Because technically the flu shot is the last 23 most common flus that were around. So, there's going to be a little something of a corona in there. Now, it may not be the novel COVID-19 novel virus, but there might be something. But I would just encourage people to say if the opportunity is there for you to get it, you get it.
And I just want to finish with this because this is a little confusing for people. So for someone who has had COVID, how does that work with vaccination booster or whatever. I mean, some people are saying, well, I don't, I've had COVID, so I don't need to get the vaccine. So where do we stand on that?
So at the time,
just
right,
to be clear.
So at the time when you've had COVID, so we'll start there. When you've had COVID and you've survived it, all right, you have immunity, right? You have some level of immunity. Your immunity, statistically, or what we've been seeing or we've been telling people, about 90 days. Okay. Right? It was 90 days. Right. And so that's why when everything first came out with the vaccine, we were telling people if you got COVID, you don't need the vaccine. And the reason why we were saying that is because we thought there'd be a vaccine shortage.
Okay.
We thought everybody was just going to be like, yay, vaccine, and they jump on it. And that was not the case.
How wrong we were. How wrong we were.
That was not the case. Now, was it? So, but that was kind of what we were telling people. Now, going forward now, right? Yeah. Going forward, if you had COVID, so let's say you got COVID, August 1st, right? You don't necessarily, you do have some time. If you haven't had the shot recently, you have some immunity, right? So so you could say September, October, right? Oh, okay. I probably should be thinking about getting it sometime late September, early October, right? Is kind of the thought process there. So you kind of have 90 days. However, like I said before, if you're not having any symptoms any further after the past 7 to 10 days and the availability is there for you to get the shot, you get the shot. Okay. But you've got time. And the reason why they do that is really just because you have innate immunity. Like the shot is not going to do it's not going to make it any worse. It may not make it any better. It's just extending your immunity because that's kind of the purpose here, right? And so the purpose here is for you to have some type of immunity. If you've had COVID, you're going to have your own what's called innate immunity. And then over time, that's going to wear off. And so then you get either the booster or the vaccine, and it boosts that immunity back up again. It kind of remembers it faster because what's happening is that our bodies right now just aren't remembering that virus as for as long as we'd like for it to. And we've always known that. But now it's just we're very clear as to kind of what's going on. And so the goal here is to kind of making sure that you have those fighter cells in your body to remember what they're looking at. So even if you get exposed to it again, you might feel a little crummy, but you're not going to be on death's door, right? Like that's kind of the purpose here. It's not going to cure you, right? But it's at least going to keep you so that you maybe just have a cough and cold for a day or two and then you move on. So what I would say once again is let's say you got COVID, let's say August 1st you got COVID, right? You're good for 90 days technically. Okay. Right? After that, you want to think about getting that booster or getting that shot again. If the opportunity comes up where let's say you got it August 1st and it's, you got to call it because you can get it August 14th, I'm not going to be mad at you for getting it either.
How about the reverse of that? You've had the shots, then you get COVID. Is that still the supercharging thing they're talking about?
Yeah, it's still for me. I count that as your booster, right? Technically, if you live, that to me that's your booster, and so you count that as your booster, and then technically you could wait another 90 days to get your booster shot. It's kind of what I've been telling people, just for peace of mind. So yeah, Pete, that works in reverse also, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, so good to have you back.
Good
so
to be
good
back.
to catch up a little
bit.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We're going to take our top of the hour break. We'll be back.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunk Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:07. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So good to see Dr. Akinyele Lovelace this morning.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh, it was really great. And just good to, sort of catch up and get all that information out there because, at this stage of the game, people have a lot of questions, and I think a lot of it has to do with the kids going back to school. So, parents have questions and kids have questions. College students have questions. So it was good to get some of those questions answered. So we have a lot going on at the Senior Center. First of all, we have our new senior benefits coordinator, Lynn Hills, has started with us. She is unbelievable. I mean, she just dove right in and is working with clients already. She's so funny because we have the regional Shine supervisor, Lorraine York Edberg, who, oversees the Shine program for Western Massachusetts. And that is the person that Karen Noblet used to kind of answer to. But of course, Karen was here for 20 years. So, she conferred with Lorraine a few times, but, not so much supervision there because it was not needed. So Lorraine's been working with Lynn. So they are seeing clients together. And so yesterday, Lynn had said to me in the morning, she said, I really feel ready. She said, I feel like I'm ready to drive the bus. So I would like to be the one, kind of doing all the work with just Lorraine there to kind of, oversee and make sure I'm on the up and up.
Sure.
So I said to her, no, I think that's great. Go for it. And so I said to Lynn, and I knew they had people scheduled yesterday. So I said to Lynn at the end of the day, how did that go? She said, well, as it turned out, Lorraine had an emergency and couldn't get here on time anyway. And Lynn said, I saw 2 clients pretty much without her. She was available by phone, I guess, on her way down there. But, Lynn she did great. And she's just a great person too. So we are having.
She's really talented HR just to begin with.
Incredibly
so
talented.
Those skills transfer.
They just carry right over, Pete. That's why she's so good at what she's doing. We're having a Welcome Lynn Watermelon Party on Tuesday, August 23rd. So it's 6 days from now. Tickets are on sale. They're just $3. It's our regular lunch price, but you do have to get a ticket in advance. I will tell you, I think we have about 10 or 15 tickets left. That's it. So if you'd like to join us next Tuesday, the menu is meatloaf, gravy, mashed potatoes, vegetable, and we're having, for dessert, we're having watermelon chunks and fruity sherbet. And our entertainment is Ed Bentley. Ed did some entertaining here. He's at the farmer's market. Kind of does oldies, a little bit of soft rock with his guitar, and he's just a great person. So Ed's going to be there doing some music for us. So you can get your tickets. They are available at the greeter's desk. I do suggest that you get them as soon as possible because, as I said, I think we have like 10 or 15 left. And they will be, we will close it out as of the end of the day Friday or sell out, whichever comes first. So I have a feeling that they may sell out. But it's just going to be a great opportunity to get to meet Lynn. She'll go table to table just so you can put a face with a name. The funny thing is she has she has kind of Karen Knoblet's, hairstyle, and it's the dark hair. And, from far away, people are saying, oh, I thought that was Karen. So, but anyway, so welcome to Lynn. So come and get your tickets for that. Yesterday, and there was an article in today's Westfield News about it, but yesterday we had Caitlin Bruce at the Senior Center, who is the interim city clerk. She was giving all kinds of information about voting. You can do mail-in ballots now. We're going to have in-person early voting, regular voting. She had her computer with her. So, if you gave her your street, she could tell you where you're voting because some of those polling places have changed.
Right.
So she was a great resource. And I told her I signed up in West Springfield for the mail-in ballot. I mean, I'm done. I already voted for the primary. Took my ballot in. I put it in the drop box on Sunday. I love it. It was so convenient. So I highly recommend. So all of those options. And there's a nice article in the paper this morning that Amy Porter did in the Westfield News on all of the different voting options. And we took some pictures yesterday for Amy to put in the paper today of Caitlin over at the Senior Center yesterday. So thank you for that. This morning between 8:45 and 9:15, we will be doing, Mary Lou and I will be outside doing signups for our fall fitness classes. So we have our 3 different types of chair yoga: progressive chair to floor yoga, gentle chair yoga, which is kind of the traditional, and then in and out of the chair yoga. So people have we started that over the summer. People have kind of separated themselves into their classes. And I think everybody's doing really well. But if you feel like you've progressed up to the next level, you can certainly sign up for that. So that'll be this morning, our signups. And we're also signing up for Carol Palmer's Totally Fun Fitness classes. She'll be back in the fall on her regular schedule. So over the summer, she just did one class. It was an hour long. It was a 6-week session. They'll be finishing that on Thursday. But then right after Labor Day, she'll be back. 2 classes, 9:30 to 10:15 or 10:30 to 11:15. And Carol Palmer, Pete, she just cracks me up. I said to her yesterday, so Carol, you just have one more summer class, and she's got about a 3-week, time off to, vacate, spend time with family and so forth. So she said, so I said, are you all geared up for that? She said, oh, yes. She said, I gave everybody homework. They're going to meet at Stanley Park when we're not having our Totally Fun Fitness class so they can get their walking in and so forth. So I just love that. So anyway, signups are today. They are drive-through. We will snake you through the parking lot. Please make sure that if you are signing up for a fitness class that you have either a check or your exact change money in an envelope with your name on the outside. Print your name and also what class you're taking. And if it's Totally Fun, give us the session,
because that goes directly
timing.
to the instructor, right?
No, those go. We have contract. Well, no, the chair yoga. We have a contract with the YMCA. Okay. So we put that into our revolving gift. The YMCA bills us for each session. So at the end of the month, we get the bill and we send that. Carol Palmer actually is an employee of ours. So she works for us. She's under my state grant. Okay. So she gets paid separately through that. But all of that goes into our revolving gift account. And
so there's no processing fees. The money paid for those classes goes to the instructors.
It goes right to exactly. I mean, not directly
right,
but yes, indirectly that's exactly what it is. We don't make any money on it. It's just my goal is to, if we can, break even. That's my main goal is that everybody's getting plenty of exercise. That's my main goal. All right, we'll do one more birthday before we take a break. It is the birthday of the late Frances Hughes Wilson, domestic abuse victim, and you'll know who this is when I tell you the story. So she was born on this date in 1947 in Stockbridge, Michigan. She died at the age of 69 in 2017. But on March 9th, 1977, Frances Hughes decided that she had had enough. 13 years of verbal and physical abuse from her hard-drinking, fitfully employed husband James Hughes, known as Mickey, led to a horrendous fight at their home in Dansville, Michigan. That afternoon, Mr. Hughes began beating her, which was pretty standard. He refused to let her make dinner for their children. After ripping up her textbooks from her secretarial courses, he demanded that she burn them and drop out of school. She called the police. Now, these are the old days. Remember, this was 1977. 2 officers came, observed the situation, and left. They said they couldn't do anything because they hadn't witnessed any violence themselves. it was clear that there had been violence, but they couldn't do anything. They left. The beating resumed. When Mrs. Hughes made dinner for the children, Mr. Hughes threw the food on the floor and rubbed her face in the mess. At one point, he threatened her with a knife in front of their children. So that night, Mrs. Hughes took action. Carrying a can of gasoline, she entered their bedroom where Mr. Hughes was asleep. And this is a quote. She said, "I stood still for a moment, hesitating, and a voice urged me on," she later recalled. It whispered, "Do it, do it, do it," over and over. And I just kept on. She poured gasoline around the bed and set it on fire with a match. And then she took 3 of her 4 children who were home. The other one wasn't home. She drove them to the Ingham County Jail in Mason and reported what she had done. She turned herself in. By the time firefighters reached the house, it was engulfed in flames, and Mr. Hughes was dead of smoke inhalation. Mrs. Hughes was charged with first-degree murder. In November, a jury of 10 women and 2 men took 5 hours to pronounce Mrs. Hughes not guilty by reason of temporary insanity. The case helped transform the public's understanding of domestic violence. The Burning Bed, a 1980 book by the New Yorker writer Faith McNulty, was made into a television movie with the same title in 1984 with Farrah Fawcett as Francine. It was seen on NBC by more than 75 million viewers. Burning Bed Syndrome, that title, entered the national lexicon. Social service agencies and police departments across the country began pursuing more aggressive police policies to prevent spousal abuse. The number of shelters for battered women grew from a mere handful in 1977 to nearly 700 the year The Burning Bed was televised. You know, what's interesting about this is I was just finishing my my undergraduate program in social work at the time that all this happened. So this was very much in the, in the news at the time.
Yep.
And the whole, and I can remember when The Burning Bed came out, when the movie came out. I mean, everybody in, that worked in human services saw the movie. I mean, it was, that was, and it was a television movie, so it was not, you didn't have to go to the theater or anything, but,
Right.
But really interesting. She went on, Frances Hughes went on to, eventually she remarried, and she started working in the healthcare profession. She became a nurse aide and was doing work in a nursing home prior to her death. And I think she died of pneumonia or something, but interesting case. All right, it is 7:19. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. Are we doing are we back on track? Because I know I blew through a break.
We
Are we
can
going
skip
to
the Telstar one.
Okay, all right. So we'll do Secrets by One Republic.
Yeah.
This is in honor of the birthday of Mark Felt, who was a deep throat in the Watergate scandal that we had talked about earlier. We'll be back.
I need another story, something to get off my chest. My life gets kinda boring, need something that I can confess. Till on my sleeves I stained red from all the truth that I've said. Come by it honestly, I swear. Thought you saw me wink, no, I've been on the brink. So tell me what you want to hear, something that'll light those ears. I'm sick of all the insincere, so I'm gonna give all my secrets away. This time, don't need another perfect line. Don't care if critics ever jump in line. I'm gonna give all my secrets away. My God, amazing how we got this far.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:24. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So, okay. Bingo. So let's talk about bingo at the Senior Center. So we had to cancel bingo 2 times during the month of August, the first Friday and the last Friday. So the first Friday was because Mary Lou and I were both out and Alex was out. So I had a lot of staff out. So we were just a little nervous about all of that. I never told you, Pete. So last weekend, Gary and I went to this wedding down in New Jersey.
Okay.
So, hottest weekend of the summer, you know, there was that 102 degree weather. So we were at, and it was South Jersey. So this was like a 5.5 hour drive. And we had to go separately because, of course, I had to work on Thursday. So,
is that like the August 9th, 10th or something like that?
Yes, it was that.
That's the weekend I was coming home through Jersey.
Yes, you were coming. That's right. You were coming back.
Yep.
No, it was, the wedding we went to, was August 5th. That was on a Friday. Grace went to one on Saturday up here.
And I came back through on Monday. Monday.
Yep. So, it was, the bride was lovely, but I got to tell you, the ceremony was outside. I had the father and mother of the groom, my nephew, were sitting in front of us, and I'm watching my poor brother-in-law, Billy, just the sweat is just running down. Grace said the wedding that they were at, it was the same thing. It was a church wedding, but there was no air conditioning because it was a historical landmark church in one of the hill towns.
Okay.
And then the reception was outdoors at her family's house. They live on Otis, but Grace said, you think you were on Otis Lake, but it didn't matter. She said it was 100 degrees. It was
right.
Hotter than heck. But so we've kind of talked about, summer weddings and weather and so forth because, Pete, so the week before those 2 weddings, and Gary and I were sworn to secrecy because we didn't want to rain on anybody's parade, but my daughter Grace got engaged.
Nice. Congratulations.
So Grace and Isaac will be getting married probably next summer because, of course, she starts school full-time in a couple of weeks at HCC in the veterinary technician program. Mm-hmm. She got her vet assistant certificate in May and then decided she wants to do the full 2-year program. So she's a little bit confined now with, wedding dates and so forth. But and they really didn't want to get married in the summer, partly just because of the heat and everything. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you right now, a summer wedding will be fine because everything's going to be indoors. And she said, agreed.
If they want a small wedding, a great place is the Westwood. The capacity is about 110.
I didn't even think the Westwood had the banquet room anymore.
Did they get rid of it?
I don't think they had it. They haven't had it for a while because I used to have.
Oh, really?
I used to have I used to have the volunteer recognition breakfast there, and then they were doing a lot of meetings. That was all pre-COVID. I could look into it. People, my understanding was that they weren't doing
really?
any. Yeah, and it was. You're right. Lovely setting for a smaller, which is what we want. Like 100 people. We're keeping this small. But yeah, I didn't. But I'll check into it. Last I knew they were not.
Oh.
But anyway, so we're checking some things out. We'll be doing that over the next few weeks because I said to her, well, whatever we do, we got to nail something fast because next summer is not that far away.
It still says restaurant, pub, banquets.
All right, I'm going to check that out then because I didn't think they were doing banquets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still says it on their
Good
website.
To know. Yeah. All right. So anyway, well, I digress. So we started talking about bingo, but that's why we didn't have bingo on that day. And I will tell you I feel like Kenny now. So here's my rant. So we go to, lovely wedding and all that stuff. Lovely facility. It was at a golf, at a golf country club, golf thing, whatever. Beautiful down in South Jersey by the shore. The music and the DJ, it was deafening. It was like beyond loud.
Oh, I hate that.
And you know what? The other thing,
Maybe it's a New Jersey thing, because right after I got married, we went to my ex-wife's best friend's wedding.
Okay.
Like literally got off the plane from our cruise.
Yep.
Got into a car and went to New Jersey for another wedding. And maybe it's a Jersey DJ, because this guy was so annoying. And the music was so loud that it was just like, it was a buzzkill.
You had to leave it was too loud to even dance to. And when he spoke, when he was talking into the mic, like Gary's looking at me going, Gary goes, Tina, he is swallowing the microphone. You know how you
Must have been the same guy.
Oh my God, it was so.
I was sitting there
so close, and it was so loud that you could. I said, I think he's introducing your sister and our brother-in-law, and sure enough, yes, they walked in, because I said, I can't understand a word the guy's saying.
That was it could be the same guy, because or maybe they trained him like that. I don't know, but it was brutal.
It was awful. It was awful.
It was
just
brutal.
That part of it was so bad. So of course it was funny, because Isaac's brother got married. Grace's fiance's brother got married that same weekend, so they were up here for that wedding, obviously. So Sunday we all got together, like Gary and Grace and Isaac, or not Gary. Gary was still in New Jersey, but Grace and Isaac and I got together, and I said, okay, while everything's fresh in our mind, let's take some notes on what we really liked about the weddings we went to, and what we would want to do, and what we really didn't like. And I said, okay, the deafening, sound is not going to happen.
No,
So
that's
that.
brutal.
You know what was hard?
That's another thing I don't like. I don't like personally doing weddings anymore, because it's just, you really have to be in sync with the catering manager.
Yes.
Like seriously, to keep the thing moving.
Yep.
Because you're kind of like the bride and groom are not the master of ceremonies. You are.
Right.
You got to keep that thing moving. And I had one bride run out in a hissy fit, and we couldn't get her out of she ran back into the bridal room, and we couldn't get her out.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get her out, and everything just ground to a screeching halt. It was brutal.
Yeah. Well, I've got another thing, and I feel like some of these weddings, like these receptions, go on for days. I mean, it's just like they just seem to last forever. My thing is like, you have the cocktail hour, you have dinner, you do some dancing. It doesn't need to be like a 5-hour event. I just feel like that's so
2-3 hours tops.
I agree. We are so on the same page, Pete.
And mine was it was actually cheaper. Mine was an afternoon wedding. The Westwood at the time had the place where where they do the drink hour. They could convert into a chapel. So her uncle was marrying us. He was an Episcopal priest, and so we got married on site. And then we had the cocktail hour really quick, and then it was just right into it. But we were luncheon was cheaper than dinner.
Yep.
By about $3 or $4 a plate.
Yep. Yep.
And so we didn't have to. And then, but we wrapped up. Went back to her parents' house, opened up the gifts and stuff, and got stuff coordinated. We wrote down lists of who gave what.
Yep.
And then we went to our hotel and relaxed before we left on our flight the next morning.
You know what? That's a great schedule.
It was smart.
Well, you know what? The other
smart.
thing too is that Grace and Isaac are looking to do the ceremony on site, so that you have to find a place that can accommodate that. Because again, I don't want to get into the we'll have the ceremony outside. It's like, I just went to a wedding and sat there in 100 degrees outside at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Then you feel nasty in your clothes and stuff like that.
Oh my God! Everybody was dripping wet by the time, and then you go into this freezing air conditioning, and it's like, it was But,
I got you.
And it's such an expensive thing, and you just hate to have your guests like uncomfortable, And I found because of the volume. I found that the brides, the older adults that were there, in the grandparents and the people in their 70s and 80s, they spent most of the reception in the lobby on a couch, because that's the only place they could talk and hear each other.
Right.
And that was, and I just thought that's so not right.
Yep.
So anyway, that's my little thing. But all right. So anyway, this week bingo. So last week for bingo, because we didn't have it twice this month. We're not having twice this month. So we made up on the 2 times that we're having it. We did special things. So last week, everybody went home with an ice cream sundae, which they thoroughly loved.
Okay.
Really enjoyed that. This week, we're doing it early, is gift card bingo. It's our monthly gift card bingo. Our sponsor this month is Integra Health. So there is no charge for the bingo cards. Everybody gets 1 free bingo card with which to play. And the winners all get gift cards. So we have $5 gift cards to, I think this month it's to Stop and Shop, Dunkin', McDonald's, and the dollar store. I think those are the ones. And then The coverall is a $10 gift card to Big Y. So you know what? The seniors really seem to love it. And we had a great crowd last week for the ice cream sundae one. We called it Chill Out Friday. And our gift card bingo, we've been getting good crowds for that. So that will be this Friday. And the reason that we had to do that was because next Friday we're setting up for our tag sale, because we're having a senior center tag sale next Saturday. So a week from Saturday from 9 to 1. It's going to be a short sale. We are getting rid of a bunch of stuff from the storage units and the storage closets upstairs. We have a lot of holiday decorations. We have a lot of pieces. Anybody who collects the Christmas villages, we have tons of buildings and pieces and people and so forth. So all of those.
It all must go.
Yes, it is. It's all going. We have some books. We've been sorting out books. We have some medical equipment that we're not using right now. That we just have an overflow of. We have some kitchen stuff that we're getting rid of. I'm going through the senior center and trying.
The deals are just insane.
They are. So it's going to be a short thing, and we're getting it's going to be price to sell kind of thing. So that'll be a week from Saturday. We'll talk more about that next week. All right, let's take a break. It is 7:34. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM. Radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15 in honor of the birthday of Francine Hughes Wilson, and just to bring more awareness to the whole issue of domestic violence, we're going to listen to Shania Twain singing Black Eyes, Blue Tears. We'll be back.
Black eyes, I don't need 'em. Blue tears, give me freedom. Oh yeah. Positively never going back. I won't live where things are so out of whack. No more rolling with the punches. No more using or abusing. I'd rather die standing than live on my knees, begging please. No more black eyes, I don't need 'em. Blue tears, give me freedom. Black eyes all behind me. Blue tears will never find me now. Definitely found my self-esteem. Finally, I'm forever free to dream. No more crying in the corner. No excuses, no more bruises. I'd rather die standing than live on my
self-esteem and be forever free to dream.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:39. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
It's very quiet here this morning.
Yes.
Yeah. So
the calm before the storm.
The calm before the storm. I know. You know, it's funny because Susanna Hitchcock, who is one of my lovely, wonderful high school volunteers who's been with me all summer, was telling me, I said something about, things are starting to wind down. I said, when do you go back to school? She said August 30th. And I was surprised.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they were going back before Labor Day.
Yeah.
I said, my God, that's like in 2 weeks. And she, of course, she's going to be a junior. I said, how do you feel about that? She goes, oh, I'm really excited, which is great.
Well, I mean, a lot of these kids missed almost 2 years of school.
Yes.
So
they're back, they're back to like real, regular classrooms.
We appreciate what we
masks
don't have when it's denied for us a period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we have, today is the birthday, August 17th, born on this date in 1947 in Memphis, Tennessee, Gary Talley, rock guitarist, singer, songwriter. He's 75 years old today. He began his career as lead guitarist for the Grammy-nominated group The Box Tops. During their brief lifespan, the Box Tops earned a reputation as one of the best blue-eyed soul groups of the 1960s. The group was famous for hits like The Letter and Cry Like a Baby. But here's the thing that's so bizarre about this, Pete. All this time, and I am a huge oldies fan, I thought the Box Tops was a black singing group because they sound it.
Sure, yeah.
And when I went to pull up the song, I said, oh, well, do I want to do The Letter? Do I want to do Cry Like a Baby? And I pull it up and I'm going, hey, that's like a whole group of white guys over there, but they sound bluesy. And so I never knew that.
Okay.
So I learned something new. So the 1967 song The Letter is one of pop's shortest #1 hits, clocking in at 1 minute and 58 seconds. And this is according to Gary Talley. He said, we knew it was good, but we didn't know it was going to be a big hit, Talley said. We started hearing from DJs around the country, and what they were saying at this time, back in the 60s, was, I can get this one in right at the last of the hour because it's less than 2 minutes. Right. Yeah. And I don't have time to play another song. So that's how they scored so big. The Letter rocketed to the top of the charts in 1967, not only spending 4 weeks at #1, but ending up as Billboard magazine's #1 single of the year. The follow-up to The Letter, the song The Letter, was called Neon Rainbow. It didn't do nearly as well, but the Box Tops managed another massive hit in 1968 with the tune Cry Like a Baby, which went to #2 on the pop charts. After his initial stint with the Box Tops, Gary Talley's reputation led him to the larger market in Atlanta in 1972, where he toured with Pat Boone, Tennessee Ernie Ford, Dobie Gray, Freda Payne, Billy Joe Royal, and many others. Talley relocated to Nashville in 1981, where he recorded with Willie Nelson, Tammy Wynette, Waylon Jennings, Sam Moore of the duo Sam and Dave, and others. After a 6-year hiatus following the death of the Box Tops lead singer Alex Chilton in 2010, Gary and remaining original bass player Bill Cunningham reunited the Box Tops and began touring in 2016. In 2017, the Box Tops joined the Happy Together tour with, this'll jog your memory if you're like over the age of 50, the Turtles, the Association, the Cowsills, Chuck Negron of Three Dog Night, and Ron Dante of the Archies. The summer tour played 48 cities across the United States and entertained over 200,000 fans. So happy
Wow.
75th birthday to Gary Talley, blue-eyed Gary Talley, which I thought that was hysterical. I pull up this video, and there I am looking at this group of 5 white guys going, I'm thinking to myself, hey, wow. And then they started singing, and I went, oh my gosh, that's the voice. But all this time,
There you
I
go.
thought the Box Tops African-American group. Nope, not so much. All right. Oh, hey, Pete, who's on? Is there anybody coming on? Is Southwood coming on at 8 o'clock?
They
after
taped
my show?
yesterday.
Oh, they taped.
Jason
Okay,
Perone did his first show.
Oh, good. Okay, all right. So, lastly, on my list of all these, birthdays and national days and so forth, August 17th is National Nonprofit Day. So, National Nonprofit Day recognizes the goals and positive impacts that nonprofits have on communities and the world. Somewhere, a volunteer reads to school children. At the same time, a patient receives steady medication. A lawyer provides legal services for low-income individuals. A lost soul's life is remembered with dignity thanks to a nonprofit funeral home. Elsewhere, a first-time home buyer moves into his own home. National Nonprofit Day reminds us that each of these scenes is possible thanks to the nonprofit sector. It's the result of the work performed by capable people and organizations. Through nonprofits, awareness, research, and aid reach the people who need it most. Nonprofits also generate tremendous benefits to their surrounding communities and the broader world. For these reasons and more, National Nonprofit Day salutes those who set out to make a difference. Sharita J. Herring, a renowned speaker, best-selling author, and business strategist, founded National Nonprofit Day to educate, enlighten, and empower others to make a difference while acknowledging those in the trenches impacting lives every day. She called them the change makers of the world. The Tariff Act of 1894, signed into law on this day, August 17th, imposed the first federal income tax on corporations, including exemptions for nonprofit corporations and charitable institutions. With a few modifications, nonprofit exemptions remain a solid part of the law and have served significant benefits for communities and the economy. So happy National Nonprofit Day. If you work for a nonprofit, pat yourself on the back. It is 7:45. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses, and WCPC cable channel 15. So in honor of the birthday of Gary Talley, who we just heard about from the Box Tops, we're going to listen to one of the shortest pop songs, especially the one that that rose to the top. It's called "The Letter." You'll recognize the tune, and keep in mind these are a bunch of white guys singing this song, but they sound very bluesy. So the Box Tops.
Give me a ticket for an aeroplane. Ain't got time to take a fast train. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. I don't care how much money I gotta spend. Got to get back to my baby again. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. When she wrote me a letter, said she couldn't live without me no more. Listen, mister, can't you see I got to get back to my baby once more? Anyway, yeah, give me a ticket for an aeroplane. Ain't got time to take a fast train. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. When she wrote me a letter, said she couldn't live without me no more. Please, sister, can't you see I got to get back to my baby once more? Anyway, yeah, give me a ticket for an aeroplane. Ain't got time to take a fast train.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:49. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So speaking of letters, we have a fairly new resource at the Senior Center. It's the monthly Mayo Clinic Health Letter. And this was donated. It comes out, the health letter comes out once a month on a variety of healthcare issues. It's regular paper and ink. There are a lot of diagrams, and all of the information is written so that you don't need a PhD in, neurophysiology or anything to
that's a good thing
to really understand it. So donated by Nancy Bryan, who receives the letter once a month. She's been saving these and had cataloged them, brought them to us in this big, massive notebook. Which looked a little too intimidating, I thought. So I had Mary Kohut, our clerk, kind of refile them, and Mary did a fabulous job of. I think they're in 9 small binders in the Fireside Lounge at the Senior Center. If you would, you're welcome to, come into the Senior Center, sit in the Fireside Lounge, go through them. Mary has them all referenced. So if you want to look up, say, you just got diagnosed with diabetes, or you just got diagnosed with asthma, or, whatever it is, or you have a family or a friend member that, is having, a hip replacement. So all of those things, Mary has them so you can very easily find the newsletter with the pictures and the diagrams. And then if you would like a photocopy of just, the articles that pertain to that, you can just take it right over to the front desk, and our greeter, Sandra Fisher, will make you a photocopy. So I want to thank Nancy Bryan for the donation. And then once a month, Nancy brings us the latest edition because it continues to come out. And to Mary Kohut, our clerk, who has, just is keeping this updated. But just to let people know, it's just a really terrific resource. I also want to just go over the schedule, my WCPC schedule for the next few weeks, because, of course, it's summertime. So we have people on taking vacations and, people covering for other people taking vacations. So normally this is the third Wednesday of the month, and normally our resident dietitian, Jen Jafune, would have been with us.
Right.
But Jen couldn't do it today. And so Jen will be with us just to give you the coming attractions here. I'm going to give you some coming attractions.
You're teasing like Kenny does.
I am. I've got everybody all over the map. So forget about the old schedule for right now, because I got to get everybody back on track. So Jen will be joining us the first Wednesday in September. So she'll be here on September 7th. She promises that she will bring in her mandolin, which is her slicer thing, which we've been trying. I said to her, she forgot it the last time she came in. And she even said to me when we set up the date for September 7th, she said, and don't let me forget to bring in my mandolin. So she will be here on the 7th. No Joe Rouse next week. Joe typically the 4th Wednesday of the month, but he has another obligation, and it's going to be a really long day for him. So I gave him a pass, and instead I invited Caitlin Bruce, the interim city clerk, to come on to share information about some voting information about what's happening with the primary election, what's happening coming up in November with the general election. So Caitlin will be on next week. We have 5 Wednesdays in August. So I just scheduled for August 31st. I think this is going to be really interesting. Beth Cardilla will be here, who is the executive director of Armbrook Village, and Mark Jackson, who's, I believe it's Mark's wife, who is a resident at Armbrook with Alzheimer's disease. And Mark wrote a song that is now being sort of out there and played. I think about, I don't know whether it's his journey or his wife's journey with Alzheimer's. But anyway, we're going to be talking all things Alzheimer's because we have in September the Alzheimer's Walk, the Western Massachusetts Alzheimer's Walk to raise funds at the Senior Center. Instead of walking, we eat. So we have our Cups for a Cause chili luncheon, and the proceeds from that go to our local Alzheimer's Association. So we'll be talking all things Alzheimer's and fundraising and our event. And Beth has been very instrumental in the Alzheimer's Walk in this area, which I believe is still up at HCC. That's where they had been doing it for the last several years, but we'll get more information and we'll actually get to listen to Mark's song. He's not sure whether... We're still debating, and I said, this is totally your call, Mark. He's not sure that he really wants to try to sing at that hour of the morning, so we may do a recording.
Yeah,
and I said to him, I said, either way is absolutely fine. We can make that happen.
Yep.
And then I just booked for the 14th of September. We got to talk about Run Stanley because that'll be coming up the first Sunday in October.
That's right. It's on my calendar.
So I'll have Vanessa Diana in here with me, and we'll be talking about Run Stanley because the committee has been meeting. We met again yesterday, and we are combining this year Run Stanley with the Wheel Walk. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. So we have a lot happening over the next several weeks, but I just kind of wanted people to get a little heads up on that because, sometimes I'll see people and they'll say, oh, I thought so-and-so was going to be on your show, or, oh, I thought so-and-so. So just so you know, that's what's happening. It's not that people are sick. It's not that people, there are just a lot of other obligations right now. So a couple other announcements before we wrap up. We have a new guided imagery class that we had to postpone start of for a week. It was supposed to start this past Tuesday, and our group leader had an emergency that came up, so we're starting it this coming Tuesday on the 23rd, and it's called Rest, Relax, Recharge. It's with Reiki master Nancy Greenwood, who's one of our seniors. Nancy did a lot of Reiki with Cancer House of Hope for many years. She was a volunteer there doing it. But the group will be meeting in the fitness room on Tuesday afternoons from 2:45 to 4 o'clock. And we're only using it's not a fitness class, but we're just using that room because you kind of spread out. You can bring a mat, you can bring a blanket, you can bring slippers. We'll have chairs there. It's just kind of a get comfortable. And Nancy will lead you through guided imagery with some background music. She may, have you walking along a seashore. She may have you by a bubbling brook. She may have you strolling through the forest all in your mind. But it's just really a chance to kind of just almost like a meditation, almost like a chance to just take a breath and breathe out. So we have that happening. My art instructor, Elaine Lees, asked me to remind folks that we have the Art Unlimited class every Thursday from 1:30 to 3-ish. Sometimes they go later, and that's fine. If the creative juices are flowing, we're good with that. Mm-hmm. The cost is $5 on a pay-as-you-go basis. But Elaine sometimes doesn't have to charge. She does work off of a grant through Sarah Gillette. So when there's money in there, people pay a reduced fee or no fee. So she can, talk to you about that. The class is open to the novice, the experienced, and everyone in between. And they will be starting work on their 2023 calendar soon. So for the last few years, they've done a calendar. They work with Matt Seklecki here at Westfield Technical Academy to do the printing. Yep. They do a 12-month calendar, so 12 different pictures that the group does. Usually there's a theme. So one year it was Westfield, like historic sites in Westfield. One year it was flowers. That one was beautiful. Last year they did parks, Westfield parks.
Right, I remember that one.
And kind of open spaces that way. I don't know what the theme is this year. I don't know if they have a theme yet, if they've selected that. My guess is they probably have, but right now that's must be top secret. So, people who are doing, who join the class, you can participate in that as well. And then we do that as a little fundraiser for the group. So new members are welcome anytime. So again, it's on Thursday afternoons from 1:30 to 3. I also want to remind people that we have nursing services offered through the Senior Center. Evelyn Bristol, I got to get Evelyn on the show. We'll have to get her coming up on the show. Evelyn is at the Senior Center every day. You do need to best to call in the morning if you want to see her that day or if you want to schedule an appointment for the next day because she does do some home visits. She's out with our outreach coordinator, Joanne Artagas. So I don't want you to show up and she's not there. So call ahead. But, chances are if she's there, she'll be able to see you on the same day. You can just agree on whatever time you'd like to meet. We have a reminder, and this is going to change in September, but I'll talk about that probably next week or the week after. Right now we are doing curbside lunches on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we are doing indoor lunches in the dining room on Tuesdays and Thursdays. For any of those, you call the senior center that morning between 8:30 and 9:15 and let us know that you'd like to join us. So today is a curbside lunch. And again, one last reminder that our party to welcome Lynn Hills, our senior benefits coordinator who took Karen Noblet's place, is next Tuesday. It's the 23rd. And that one you do have to purchase a ticket in advance. The tickets are on sale. They've been on sale now for about a week. I think we have about 10 or 15. I can't remember exactly how many tickets left. Not a lot. So if you're interested in joining us, please do. Stop by the senior center. Stop at the greeter's desk. Tickets are $3. It's a meatloaf dinner. We have Ed Bentley doing our entertainment for us, so I think it's going to be a really nice affair. And you'll get to meet Lynn so that, we have Medicare open enrollment coming up in October. So for those of you who were used to working with Karen for your Medicare prescription drugs, this gives you an opportunity to meet Lynn, kind of put a face with a name before you actually have to make the phone call and say, help me with my Medicare.
Right.
So, all right, that is it from my end. Pete, you good?
Yep.
Okay, so just a final reminder that this morning Mary Lou and I will be outside in 45 minutes doing fitness signups for our fall fitness classes. Have a great week. Again, next week we'll have Caitlin Bruce, interim city clerk with us. So we'll be back. Have a great week.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and